friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me thine ears. Tune in, grab a seat, let's get jiggy with it. Hey DollFAM, welcome back to an all-new episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I am your hostess with the absolute mostest and oversharing, the Doll. This week's episode, we're going to be focusing on a topic that you guys are constantly asking me to discuss. 'Tis the season, that is car show season. We don't really care much for football season around here at Monday Coffee, but we definitely will take some time to talk about car show season. So this week's episode, we are going to be doing Monday Coffee and car shows. But since this is also a show where we like to try and influence the world for the better, we're going to be gassing up our rods with a little bit of compassion. So it's going to be Monday Coffee, car shows, and compassion. Yeah, that's right. I think that that's a really interesting and thing that we don't talk about enough in society, so I'm going to be talking about it here. And also in our third and final segment, because we're going to be doing those, we're going to be talking about what's with these GD headlines. I've been noticing a lot in my feed from a very specific news source, The Sun. It likes to share really specific topics about one body part in regards to women. And the thing that's the most ironic is that it's supposed to be a source dedicated to moms, yet the topics all seem titified and not in the way that you would assume with it being mommies. We aren't talking about breastfeeding is what I'm talking about, but we are going to be talking about the raunchiness of the Sun's headlines in what's with these GD headlines. So all that and probably a lot more chatter in this episode. So make sure you're brewing yourself up a pot to sit down and hang out with me on this week's episode. So let's get into it. So first off, you guys might be wondering, Emily, why is this sitting here? Why? What a random thing. So I thought I would share this with you guys because here at Monday Coffee, we are a big supporter of small businesses of all kinds, including those of little tiny entrepreneurs in the making. So every time I take my kids up to their homeschool hangout, because that's one of the things that we do on Wednesdays, is I take them up to their homeschool hangout and they get to hang out with other kids their age in the community that are homeschooled, and they get to do all kinds of different fun things. And there's a little boy that shows up and he always has his bag full of these super cool melty beads. You know, we all used to do these when we were kids back in the day. Well, they're still really cool and a lot of kids still do them. My kids like have kits and they're everywhere. The beads are just everywhere. But he makes all of these really cool designs based off of like the video games he's into. He has Minecraft, he has Mario, he has mostly Minecraft and Mario, but then he has like some Pokemon, and he makes big ones, he makes small ones, he makes keychains. And they're so fascinating to me. They're so cool to me. I love the designs. He does such a good job constructing them. They're so much fun. This one glows in the dark. But he puts them all out on the table and he sells them to all the kids. And they range from like 25 cents up to $1. And I could not help myself. I had to invest in his business. And I just really loved the blue color of this one. And I had to have it. So he said that it was 50 cents. I paid him $1 because I wanted to invest in the continuation of his business growth and his supplies and whatnot. So, and then Lucy Joe also bought one. And my son Charlie bought one. And we all were investing in his little business. So I wanted to show this off because I just think it's really rad that kids out there, you know, it's one of those things that kids always do. They always like at some point try to start their own business, right? No matter what it is. Usually it's like the lemonade stand, and with that it's you can't let your kids sell lemonade because then you always have that Karen on the street that like tries to call the city and be like, they're selling without a permit or some stupid crap like that. But it's always really funny how kids constantly are trying to start up ways to make money. Like, it's just a thing that kids like to do. They're always trying to figure it out. And I think that it's really important to, you know, encourage that and encourage them to do those kinds of things, because I think that if we had more small business owners and more young kids that are supported in their own endeavors and their own entrepreneurship, you know, who knows what they'll turn into as they get more control over their own destiny as they grow into adulthood. So I wanted to show this off. because I am a big investor in small businesses, even when they're children. So I can't give you his contact information because that would be really creepy and weird, but I just wanted to show that off because I thought it was really badass. So now let's get into the show. So I know you guys all want me to start with car shows, but that's probably going to be the longest topic. So I just wanted to touch base on something a little bit more intimate and serious and important in this world, and that is the topic of compassion. Here on my show, one of the things that I've always like structured my topics around, or like my main focus discussions on Monday Coffee, because Monday Coffee is a place of like real humanistic sharing, right? The experiences, real life things. Since my first episode, I've always shared like what's going on in my life, personal experiences, struggles, issues, and it's kind of a way for all of us to connect and feel less alone in the things that we experience through life, because like I said, sharing is caring, and this is a table that everybody gets to bring their snacks to and share and feel supported and loved. So a lot of the times the topics here can be, you know, heavier, more involved, deeper, not so just like surface level ideas like a lot of shows will do. So I recently was kind of reflecting on a situation with somebody who I was talking about a past relationship, and we were kind of talking about how, like, when you're in the middle of situations that can be so raw and stressful and, you know, just heavy, you tend to get caught up a lot in the negative emotions and like the anger and the animosity and just like the violentness of trying to swim through the violent seas that dealing with a negative toxic person can carry and bring. And I was kind of reflecting on my own past situations that I've gone through and how, like, when you're in the middle of those situations, they can be so raw and painful that you sometimes, most of the times, allow those emotions to dictate your behavior and your reactions, because in those moments it's really hard to respond, right? It's really hard to get control of your emotions in certain situations, especially when they involve people that you love and relationships that you care about that are going sour, that you didn't ever necessarily see going sour. And something that those situations can carry not so much of is compassion, right? And I think that just in general, we function in a world that's really lacking in compassion. And I think that there's situations where it's really valid to not feel compassionate towards people that you're interacting with and that you're involved in, because to be honest, there's just a lot of people out there that don't deserve that compassion, right? Their behavior, their actions, making sure that they are facing the accountability of said actions and choices can warrant less compassion than, you know, smoother situations. But I was just kind of thinking about how if we garnered more compassion towards the more painful situations that we deal with individuals, how would we fare, you know, in our own healing? And I was, you know, when you're on Facebook, you see a lot of situations and private and personal situations play out in front of you with how people share online, and you'll see a lot of people share about the relationships that they're going through or leaving or trying to navigate, and there can be a lot of venom and there can be a lot of hate and anger and just all of the negative things just pouring out of people. And I remember going through those phases, and I remember like trying to navigate those paths when I was in the middle of them, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder how much easier it would have been if I was capable of harnessing and focusing more on having compassion in the situation than allowing my raw emotions to cause me to react versus to respond. I talk about that a lot on my show. If we were able to respond in the negative situations that we're navigating versus react, I think that the situations from the start would be more positive through the whole experience and not just at the end. And that can be a really difficult thing to do. And it's something that you proactively have to force yourself to practice and learn until it's something that you're capable of doing without even really thinking about it, like anything else, because everything is a learned trait, even your behavior through situations and your behavior towards other people and the way you handle situations you're going through. And I don't want this to be misconstrued as just being a doormat, right? Because I also talk a lot about that. I am a recovering doormat. I am somebody who is a recovering people pleaser. And so for me, I focus on these types of traits really consistently and really intensely because I feel like I'm an empathetic person, right? I'm a very compassionate person towards others. I want to help people, love people, help people see those things within themselves and feel those positive things. And there's extremes of those behaviors where you tend to sacrifice yourself. People like me will sacrifice themselves for the greater good of whoever they're interacting with, and that's not always a positive either. You know, you have to find that balance. So when I was reflecting on my past situation, now, because I've talked about just in the past episodes of Monday Coffee here recently, talking about relationships, we're talking about toxic relationships, talking about narcissists, and I reflect back on my past relationships. You know, thinking about the things that I've gone through would make anybody angry, bitter, hurt. But now I feel like I've worked so hard to make growth in who I am. I can look at those people and have compassion. And that doesn't mean like forgive and forget and not carry those boundaries with you when dealing with people like that. And that doesn't mean that you can't be hurt and you can't be angry. I think that all situations have seasons of processing while you go through them. But I challenge you to, once you get through the thick of it, to try and really garnish compassion when moving forward once that healing and forgiveness has been placed. I think that when we go through difficult situations with other humans that hurt us, I think that a big part of that final process of healing is being able to have compassion towards why those people might be the way that they are. That doesn't mean that you have to allow, you know, any type of abuse towards you or allow those types of personalities around you. I think that boundaries are really important to protect yourself. But I personally choose to have compassion towards those people as to why they may be the way that they are, which caused them to treat me the way that they treated me, which in no way removes the hurt or the pain or justifies the behavior. But sometimes it can really help you process and heal from the behavior that was done to you. You know, I can look at my past relationship and have compassion towards that person in the environments that they grew up in and the situations that they were put in at a young age, and the fact that they didn't have guidance, the fact that they didn't have support, the fact that they didn't have good role models. You know, I can look at the big picture of their own journey and have compassion towards maybe not being so bristled, I guess, towards them in why that they treated me the way that they treated me. Sure, it hurt. It was horrible. I shouldn't have been treated that way. And they need to be accountable for the choices that they made as an adult and in how they move forward in their own life, right? You have to, are you going to be a victim of your environment, and are you going to continue that type of toxic abuse, or are you going to rise above? But I think that we have to have compassion towards some people not being capable of doing that on their own, and if they don't have a good enough support system and environment to help pull them out of it, they just kind of continue in that vein, and that's really tragic. You know, that's really sad. And so I'm in a place in my life where I try to have more compassion towards that versus harboring bitterness or resentment towards the people that have hurt me in the past. You know, when I talk about my past situations with people during my one-on-one chats that I do with people when they want to talk to me about personal things going on in their lives, and kind of sit and counsel with them and support them and talk them through these situations, people can be really surprised that I have, like, one of the reoccurring emotions that and reactions that I get from people when I'm having these intimate one-on-one live, you know, chats with them about these types of intimate situations, is they're always very surprised, I guess, at the empathy and the sensitive nature that I have towards the people that have hurt me in the past. That it's never like these people, you know, condemn. It's, this person hurt me and it was really difficult to go through and it was really inexcusable. But also I have empathy towards the fact that I know that they also suffered these things. And I try to have compassion towards other people's journeys, because I think that if we have a softness towards other people, it just ultimately helps us be in more inner peace within ourselves. When you harbor those negative things towards others that they've done to you, it kind of makes you a harder person in general, which I think ultimately can make it really hard to heal through your own issues and your own experiences to get to your truth. So I think that having more compassion towards some of the situations, and I think that there's of course situations that are just really inexcusable, and there's some people that just, you know, don't deserve that, because there are such extreme degrees in some people's personal truths and stories. But for, you know, for me personally, there's areas where if I reflect in them, I can look at it and go, I can have compassion towards that. I can have empathy towards that. I can look at that person and feel those things towards them in their own situation outside of what they've done to me, right? And I think that if we evaluate certain things that way for our own inner peace, that doesn't mean like go out and be like, I forgive you and this is an excuse for how you, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about for inner self-reflection. This doesn't mean you have to go out and like make amends with everybody and forget, you know, behaviors that people exude, and because a lot of times those people are still continuing in that toxic vein, so you need to still stay away from them. But I'm talking about when you're learning to make peace within yourself on your own healing journey. I think that being able to look at situations and having compassion and softness is a benefit to your own healing. That's all I'm saying. So there's some reflection. So that's our serious positive talk for Monday Coffee with the Doll, Monday Coffee and Compassion. That's all I'm going to say about that. But if you do have things that you're trying to navigate that you're having a hard time getting through, and you feel alone and you feel like you need somebody to talk to and you just need some unbiased advice, I'm not a certified anything. I'm not a on paper legal therapeutic person of any Dr. Phil degree, but I definitely am somebody who will schedule time to sit down with you if that's something that you're interested in. So if you guys are interested in sitting down with me, you guys can schedule some time. There are links below to do that, and I would be happy to sit down and talk about whatever it is you're going through and try to help you navigate it with my own time. So, because I love your faces. So let's move on to the next subject. All right, so it is spring. We're well into spring. We're getting closer to summer, and that means car show season is kicking off with a big bang. There are a lot of car shows that are coming up. There are big car shows, there are small car shows, there are local car shows, there are morning coffee every week car shows, local, far away. There are so many car shows that you are going to want to be looking into if you are somebody who loves to go to car shows. So I thought that we could kind of talk about those a little bit, kind of do some hot rod talk about Ethel, talk about what's going on. I've been getting a lot of messages asking me, because Viva is this weekend. It's Friday. I film on Friday. I know. I'm in the past, y'all. Y'all are in the future. How's it going out there? I've been getting a lot of messages asking if I'm going to go to Viva. I'm not a Viva attendee. You know, Viva Rockabilly Weekend is like one of the biggest rockabilly meetup car shows that there is at this point, because it's gone on for such a long time, and it's where everybody goes to Vegas and they go to the Viva Rockabilly Weekend, and it's been going on for so long. You know, I used to want to go. I'll just be brutally honest. I used to want to go, of course, because I feel like it's like one of those things where you get to meet up with people who share such a serious passion in the same lifestyle and things that you like as somebody in the custom culture scene, rockabilly scene, pinup scene, hot rod scene, you know, whatever title you want to give it. So it's something that I, of course, for a long time wanted to go to. I never got the opportunity because, you know, just my entire story and the things that I've gone through, like for a long time, there was like always something that came up, and it would either be I didn't have the money to do it because I was busy working my butt off and taking care of my kids as a single mom, or I was a single mom working and I didn't have somebody to watch my kids, or I couldn't leave my kids for that long. Also, it usually for the longest time was on Easter weekend, and again, I had kids, so I would rather be with my kids celebrating Easter than, you know, my kids are my thing. My kids are my jam over anything else. So there was always like a thing that would come up that I just, it wasn't something the meantime that I could make it to. But then it got to the point where I have a really bitter taste in my mouth now for just, I'm not one to like spill tea and talk shit about things, but I was treated really badly by the person who runs Viva over a situation that I had nothing to do with, that I was brought into by his own like performers and people who were involved in, that were like booked as performers for Viva that year, and they decided to target me over something I had nothing to do with. And he was really hypocritical in something that he said, and he handled something really unprofessionally and just really bad. And he could have corrected it. Like, he could have really easily done something to fix the problem that his own event and people he hired created, and he didn't. And I think it was because he was scared to confront these people, and he just kind of hid like a coward, and it was something that really turned me off. And that goes against like the whole thing that he had claimed. Like, the situation was just really unprofessional, and the situation was handled really badly, and the claims that he was making were really hypocritical towards his behavior that he was showing, and I struggle with that type of mentality. So I have a hard time supporting something and going to something when I know something like that and I experience something like that. Like, there's no reason for me to go there. I don't want to go to your event when you were so okay with doing something so just gross to me, when I had nothing to do with anything. When I supported your event, I posted good things about your event, and people should go to your event prior. Like, I went above and beyond to try and do all the positive things, and my face was just spitting. So it's not something that I'm going to go to. But also, I don't really like the environment's energy and what it's turned into. I don't think that you would have to participate in it. I think that, like, if you go with your own friends and you don't participate in the drama and like the clique mentality and the show that, you know, there's a lot of people that go there to like show off who's more rockabilly or who's more pinup, or who's like you have like the preppy people, like, I guess you would say, like the popular groups that show up that think that they're hot shit. And then you have people who are just true blues in the scene that like to go every year and hang out with their friends, and they meet up and it's their like reunion. And so I think that there's a lot of really good things that you could participate in within your own groups. So I'm not saying don't go. I'm not saying that you're not going to have a good time. I'm just saying that it's not for me. It's not, I would have been able to, I think, go if I wasn't treated the way I was by the person who puts it on for absolutely zero reasons whatsoever. But that on top of, it's not my jam. There's a lot of car shows that are just as big as Viva, like Lone Star that's about to happen, and Moon Eyes, and there's so many big car shows that are just as great, if not cooler, because they're more centered around like the car scene and the hot rods and like the reasons why, and there's not like really a popularity contest going on with the energy that they evoke. So like when you remove that, it's just more of my speed, I guess you could say. And again, I'm not trying to talk shit, I'm just talking about like personal experiences within myself, like what I've seen. People, so many people talk to me, like I know so much because people come to me for advice on how to handle situations that arise in these events and these shows, and there's a lot of personalities clashing, and there's a lot on the table, and shows are a lot to put on. There's money, there's titles, there's advertising, there's marketing, and like there can be a lot of negativity that can come up. So people come to me with issues that they're facing on what's the best way to, I guess, navigate it, and I try to help them as best as I can, because ultimately if you can stay away from it, like if you can just like remove that, and sometimes you have to just be the bigger person even if you shouldn't have to be, you know what I mean? So I try my best to help people navigate those things, but car shows are one of the best parts of this scene. They are always a good time. Like you have to figure out where to not get involved, because it's not necessary, I guess you could say. It's such a waste of time to try and get involved in the politics and the drama and the like popularity bullshit, and the rockabilly police will come out in full force. Like just ignore them because they really don't have any authority over anybody. But there's so many car shows that are big, that are amazing, that I would highly recommend you guys go to. You know, you need to spend some time researching what's around you. And then research the bigger ones that you can, you know, travel to, because a lot of these car shows are going to be things that are weekend events that you're going to have to travel to. The Stray Cat 500 in Dewey, Oklahoma is by far one of the best car shows. That's coming up. Lone Star is just literally around the corner. But there's the Good Guys car show, and then there's so many. There's so many, and everybody has a group, everybody has a page, everybody has a website. So you have to seek out that information, and I would highly recommend scheduling out your summer. I would recommend going to like a really big one that you have to travel to, and if you can only make it to one of those, look around locally. There's a lot of car shows that get put on in communities all the time. Car shows are something that a lot of communities put on because they're kind of like poker runs, right? Motorcycle groups and things like that put on poker runs to like raise funds for charities or help people in need that are going through difficult situations, and a lot of times car shows are centered around that type of thing. So there's usually a charity that's involved. There's a way that these car shows are giving back to communities, giving back to charities, raising funds for something that's bigger than, you know, anybody there. Like there's a cause. So I think that that's really beneficial and really badass. And then there's also, you know, car shows that go on just weekly. There's like little car show get-togethers. There's a lot of guys in communities that will set up morning coffee show, like I say morning coffee show, that messed me up because I'm a morning coffee show. But they're like morning coffee car shows where they will meet up in a parking lot, little parking lot get-togethers, and it's not really a car show, but it's like a meetup, and everybody locally who has a hot rod will show up and they'll hang out and they'll get together. And so there's a lot of different ways you can get involved in the car show community and the custom culture community through hot rods and the hot rod scene and things like that. You just gotta be willing to look around. You gotta be willing to do the searching. There's a lot of things, like if you just search car show plus the city that you're in, on Facebook in the search bar, it brings up so much information because it's kind of like a Google type thing where it just pulls up anything that's mentioned with those things. So like you can do some digging and find some cool shit. And I highly recommend spending your summer doing that because it's a really good time. It's addicting. It's something that you're going to really want to be involved in more and more the more that you go. The hot rod scene and like car shows is such a high. I can't explain it. I really can't. Like every car show that I've ever been to is such a good experience, and like the togetherness of the people that go to car shows, like when you find good groups, there's so many good people at car shows. There's so many just people who want to share their passions, that want to receive people, who want to have a good time, who care about the same things they care about. Like it's a really, really, really good time. So if you are somebody that's like been in the rockabilly scene or the pinup scene and you're like soiled by it, because I get a lot of comments and messages from people who say that they left the scene because of like certain demographics of people that they had to like, just spend more time at car shows. Spend more time with the hot rodders. I promise it'll erase any of the negativity. Like it's really is just like a good vibe and it's good energy, and it's one of my favorite things to do. With that being said, I personally can't make it to a lot of car shows a lot of the time because, like I said, I live out in the middle of nowhere and traveling is hard for me because I have a lot of animals and a lot of responsibilities, and we have a lot of kids, and we don't have a lot of people that we can rely on to like handle those things at home to be able to leave for an entire weekend. You know, our kids are homeschooled, so it's easier for that way, but we have a lot of things that keep us from going far from home, which sucks. Like that's probably been like the biggest ping to my soul, is that I don't get to go to as many car shows as I wish I could. There's several that I've been looking at around my town and my community that I'd like to go through. And I want to be able to take Ethel to car shows and be able to at least, you know, take her there, even if she's not really ready to be entered into anything. But that's something that I am consistently working on being able to be a part of more, and I highly recommend that you guys work towards being a part of those because they're a really good time. And I think the car show community, like the people who consistently go to car shows, not just people who are like hot rodders or in the custom culture scene, but people who consistently go to car shows, it's just a really good time. Like I love watching all my friends post their adventures when they go to car shows and they meet up with each other and they spend these weekends doing cool shit together, and they post tons of pictures, and I really enjoy seeing it. It's a good thing. So if you're looking for something to do this summer, start looking up car shows. I promise that you won't regret it. So that's going to be it for that segment. I could talk about car shows and the car scene all day long, but again, I'm trying to keep my shows a little bit together. But that smells really great. Do you guys smell that? Because it smells like a plug for our coffee sponsor, Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans. So let's just roll into that. Are you doggone tired of waking up? Doggone tired. Are you tired of waking up to boring beans that just have no bark to their bite? Well, have no fear, because Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans are here. Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans. The coffee beans that'll get you up howling. That's right. And be sure to check below. Be sure to check below for links and a coupon code to get 5% off your first order of Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans. That's right. Sleeping Dog Coffee Beans. The beans that'll get you barking. All right, so we are going to get into our final segment of the show, and that is, what's with these GD headlines? The part of the show where I talk about cringy, weird, shocking, odd, confusing headlines that you will find in your newsfeed, or I found in my newsfeed at least. Maybe I just am in the wrong algorithms, but they can be some interesting things if you look back on the episodes since I've been doing this. I always like to pick some really weird, just confusing things. So this week I'm going to be focusing not necessarily just on one specific headline. Like usually I find one headline, I open the story, we read the story. But today we're going to be focusing on lots of headlines. And they're oddly though all the same. They're all the same. So technically it's not that different. And I'm going to be focusing more on a news and media website, outlet, platform that shares kind of more, I would say, non-credible type news, the type of news that are really for more reactive responses because they're trying to garner views, kind of like daytime TV type of thing, right? It's more of like, how can we get people to be shocked and click on this and comment on this, and it's more of like puff pieces, and I wouldn't say it's a very credible news source for like real, legitimate, factual, well thought out, well researched pieces of journalism, to be nice. And that is The Sun. I don't know if you know anything about The Sun, but it is a news and media website and platform that honestly a lot of people have mixed reviews on. You know, if you're somebody who likes tabloids and you like gossip, and you like stuff that's not necessarily true but feels like some hot tea that was just brewed, you know, The Sun's a place for you. If you're somebody who likes legitimate factual news stories that you can rely on, that are beneficial to your mental health and your growth, it's not for you. It's definitely not for you. This one in particular I'm going to be focusing on is the US Sun Moms page. So they have definitely different like platforms and pages that have different titles. And this is the one that is titled the US Sun Moms. And this one comes into my newsfeed all the time. And to be honest, every time I see it, I am left baffled by the headlines that I'm seeing. What would you think when you heard the Sun Moms page? What type of content would you assume that they shared? Just guess. Just guess. Do you think that it would be stuff relatable to being a mom, to parenting, to the struggles, to the pros, to the cons, tips, tricks, tutorials, things that catered to being a mom? I mean, that's what I would assume, right? Recipes, things talking about snacks for your kids, making lunches easier, how to deal with being a working mom and also being there for your kids, because that's a struggle that moms go through, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, the struggles about that. Places to take your kids, ways to balance being your own woman while being a mom, tutorials, style things that help women who have had children and dealing with the changes their bodies go through, you know, stuff that's relatable to being a mom, mental health, finding me time, you know, being the best mom you can be, being the best woman at the same time, just relatable mom stuff, right? Well, the Sun Moms page is a very different idea about what type of content moms want to see. So I'm going to put up a couple of different headline news topics here, and I'm going to go through them. Now, I've been collecting these for a couple of months, and I don't know if you can notice, but they're all very similar. Okay? Now, these headlines I took screenshots of consecutively. There wasn't like one in between that I was like, I'm not going to screenshot that one. It doesn't go with my narrative. No, these were, whenever they would pop into my newsfeed, I would screenshot them. And I was really shocked at how consistent the headline topic was. Yeah. And that's about boobs. Whoever's running the Sun's Moms page really has a thing for the toddies. Every single headline that comes into my news feed from the Sun's Moms is about the titty toddies. Yeah, the jigglypuffs. Gotta catch them all, apparently. So, I don't have anything, just disclaimer. Disclaimer before anybody's like, this is discriminatory towards female empowerment. No, it's not. Boobs are a huge factor in you know, womanhood. Some people would disagree in today's society, considering what agenda we're going with. But we're just specifically talking about female anatomy from who's got the titty toddies, okay? I can't keep up with making everybody happy, but you get my point. So you would assume that if you're sharing a lot of content about boobies, from a mom's perspective, somebody who's birthed a child, you'd be like, well, is it about like fitting bras after you've had kids? Because your boobs change a lot after you have kids, like a ton. Like you will have one set of boobs before you get pregnant, and you will have a completely entirely different set of boobs after you've birthed a human being. Let me tell you. Just different. So that's relatable, right? Is it talking about breastfeeding? Well, I wouldn't think so, because we all know that when you talk about breastfeeding or you share breastfeeding photos or things like that across meta platforms, you get banned for sexual solicitation. Okay? Too sexual. Don't talk about it, don't show it. Not, of course, everything. Some things get under the radar. But I have lots of mom friends who have been banned for sexual solicitation for sharing breastfeeding photos and or topics that show breastfeeding photos. So no, it's not about that either. It's not. The thing that I found fascinating about all of these headlines was that they all seemed very sexualized in a way. They all seemed like they were more on a page that was generated towards very cis male men type viewers, dudes who are attracted to women, are attracted to female anatomy very explicitly, unapologetically, which is fine, right? I'm not here to knock anybody's content, anybody's likes, dislikes, interests. That's not what I'm talking about. But I found it really weird, in a sense, that all of these headlines and all of these photos and everything were worded almost to attract the male gaze versus a mom and be relatable to a mom. So I'm going to look at some of these and it's just they're kind of odd to me personally. Like one of the first ones is, I'm a gym girl who works out completely topless. I beg people to be nice. As a mom, I don't really see how that has anything to do with being a mom. I know women at the gym struggle, right, with being harassed at times, trying to work out in gym attire and secure their tiggle bitties when they're working out for functionality purposes. But this photo with the girl who's like coyly looking over her shoulder with this look on her face, like, come hither. And then it seems like it's generated towards somebody who wants to, you know, look at a chick who's topless at the gym versus, you know, a woman who's trying to figure out how to like comfortably work out at the gym. And if you look at a lot of the comments, there's a lot of dudes involved in the comments. There's a lot of guys who were leaving comments about how sexy the girl is, how perfect her body is, just very male-esque interaction, okay? So if you look at these, the next one, I'm proud of my big boobs, but they hide the smallest part of my waist, and it's annoying. Okay. What's next? I have 36J boobs and tried the Skims Bandeau bra. I was impressed by the support. The comments are, this is talking about a women's Bandeau bathing suit made by one of the Kardashians, but it's talking about how big her boobs are and how it was supportive, and the comments are, you would think, women going, oh, that she has a top like me, I should try that, I need a more supportive. No, it's all a bunch of dudes talking about how great her toddies look. The next, I'm a gym girl, I have to check my nipples don't make a guest appearance. And again, lots of male interaction. Let's go on to some more. The thing that I've noticed is that it's just all boob related, which is really strange. There's some other things mixed in if you go to their page, but what's odd is that I've never had any of that come up in my feed. It's always booby stuff. There's, like I showed you guys, all of the clips that are on here. It's just a lot of booby stuff. It's a lot of girls who are, the photos, like the thumbnails that they use are very sexualized. They're always very come hither. The wording is very like it's from a hustler site, not necessarily a site garnered towards moms. I'm putting my computer down. And I just find it kind of odd that every single article that pops up into my feed has to do with boobs. It's a mom's site. All the articles are about boobs. It's just kind of strange. And if all of the articles were about like relatable things that women struggle with breast issues and things, that would make sense. But so much of the content seems very sexualizing to women versus talking about real breast issues or relatable content about boobs. And that's what I think is kind of deceiving. It makes me feel like this page is clickbaiting an idea about sexualizing women in a way to garner the interaction that they need to make sure that their algorithms and their pages stay up, versus sharing real relatable content that moms can relate to with it being a mom page. And I think that the underlying issue here that I feel like I see is that I think it's a consistent thing that I'm seeing across a lot of platforms these days, where the sexualization of women to garner attention, to garner views, to make money is a very trendy thing. It's become so trendy that it seems as if society has almost convinced women that they also need to sexualize themselves to garner this I'm in control and I'm a boss mentality over their own sense of self and bodily autonomy. And I think that that's unfortunate. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't be allowed to do that or it's discrediting women in any way. There's a lot of women who are very much in tune with their sexuality, and they use that sexuality as a big part of their branding in the work that they do, or it empowers them to sexualize themselves. And I am in no way degrading or talking down on these women in any facet. I think that women should have a right to portray themselves however they feel is what they want to do. But I have seen this crazy like acceleration in the sexualization of women to such a degree that I'm seeing more and more creators and female creators online sexualizing themselves because it seems to be the only thing that you can do to get attention in today's online communities. And I'm not saying that it is, right? I'm not saying that like my word is set in stone, but it's a thing that I'm noticing more and more and more and more and more, is that it almost feels like women feel like if they don't sexualize themselves and take control of that and be like, I'm in control of this, then somebody else is going to do it anyways, and then they don't have control. And I think that that's really unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate that sexualization has to be a factor in almost everything anymore. Sexualization of women's bodies for marketing, advertising, product sales, attention, views, algorithm boosts, I think is just gross. You know what I mean? And I think that the Sun Moms is very much benefiting off sexualization of women's bodies to garner attention to their content, to help boost their views, for more of almost like I don't want to use the word pornographic way, but the articles are more geared towards people who want to oogle and sexualize women than moms looking to follow a blog to have relatable content. Like it feels more like I said, like a men's magazine type articles versus articles written for moms. So that's going to be it for this week's What's With These GD headlines. The Sun's moms, if you really like boobies, they're a page to follow. They post a lot of booby content, kind of cloaked in the idea that it's for moms and relatable content for moms, when I don't really feel that way, but that's just my personal opinion. And what does my opinion have to do with anything? Not jack shit, that's what. Let's go to the end of our show. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out and listening to me rant and rave about all of these different topics. If you are a viewer of the show, I really appreciate the time that you spend with me every week viewing my content. If you are new here, I hope you stick around. The craziness is always ground and brewed up thick in Monday Coffee. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do to get involved in the show, so make sure that you check out all of the information below on how you can submit questions to the show, how I can answer you directly on my show, how you can participate in the show, how you can support the show, be a sponsor of the show. There's all kinds of really cool ways to get involved below. There's ways to book one-on-one coffee dates with me below. There's all kinds of really cool stuff. Make sure that you guys check out the sponsors of Monday Coffee with the Doll, because they are a big part of spreading the good word of the DollFAM. I really appreciate them. Like I said, if you want to become a sponsor of the show, there are ways that you can do so below. But also a way that you can support the show is just your normal content creator supportive things. You can subscribe to my channel if you're a watcher. A lot of my viewers aren't necessarily subscribed, but they like to watch my content. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so and ding that little bell so you don't miss new updates and posts. Make sure that you're giving my videos thumbs ups before you go, because you know your girl likes a thumbs up. What? In the bar below. Yeah. So we gotta censor that, so we don't say something we shouldn't say. But also leave a comment. This is an open platform. Leave your thoughts below. Comments are always good. You can continue the discussion, have discussions with others, have discussions with me. I'm always here. And be sure to check out all of my other platforms. There's a lot of fun that is constantly going on over on my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok. You can check out my other channel, the Ford Etzel Ranger, on the Instagram. My YouTube isn't that active yet because I have a lot of editing to do of the projects that I've done. But if you want to catch up on the projects that I've done, make sure that you check out her Instagram, where I do a lot of posting about my car there. And also be sure to check out my new website. I have a lot of really cool things in the works that I'm working very hard on finalizing and getting up for you guys. So be sure you head over to A Doll for All Productions and sign up for my email list, because when all of my big projects that I am really putting in all the elbow grease into go live, that is going to be how I notify you guys that you can get involved and participate. So, your girl's long-winded. I need a break. But that's going to be it for this week's show. So thanks for hanging out with me, because participating in my content is the most supportive thing that you can do. Be sure to check by my link tree to figure out all of the ways you can support the DollFAM, get involved, order prints, find my merch, contact me. There's so much fun, so be sure to go and shake my tree. All of those links are below. But most importantly, remember that sharing is caring and knowledge is power. And I'm here to share the knowledge that I collect with all of you so you can be more powerful on your own journeys while you are learning to make peace within yourself, so you can walk in love with others in this crazy little thing called life. But most importantly, remember that these are the days that fill your week. Make sure you're making them as amazing as you are. I will see you next time. Bye.
Words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words, but at the same time, words speak louder than actions, because sometimes it's the right thing to do.
Very cool.
Okay,